This is an analysis of a few characters in the popular MOBA game, League of Legends. My main point will be to show that as the gender roles of society change over time, so too does the constantly updated roster in-game. As of right now, League of Legends is entering its 7th season, and since its release in 2009, its cast of 40 champions to play as has expanded to 134. Over the years, a large amount of both female and male champions have been added. I'll be looking at a few chosen champions and how their gameplay, lore, and most importantly, their role in the game reflects their gender stereotypes and/or breaks it. One thing to keep in mind is that all champions have a primary role, a secondary role, and also that many champions can be played to fit any role necessary. However, I will only be focusing on the primary roles. Another point to keep in mind throughout this is that according to Riot Games, the creators of League, the game's player base is over 90% male, and with 85% of players in or between the ages of 16 and 30. So clearly the demographic for the champion designs and playstyles should fit to a male's idea of what it should be. Let's say a male around the age of 20. One champion that could be strongly considered pandering to their audience is Sona, the Maven of Strength. Released in September of 2010. Looking at her design, she has a large chest, long, silky, flowing hair, and also wields a string instrument as a weapon. The large breast is usually seen as a way of appealing to a male audience, which, as previously stated, makes sense with the player base. The long, flowing hair that seems to float behind her is both a way to show off beauty as a way to fit her soft personality. Her playstyle is the most obvious, support. The support's job in League of Legends is to, well, support the carries, or the champions that have the biggest impact in the game. Of the top 3 tiers of all 5 roles in League, a majority of them are male, so a Sona in-game would find herself constantly having to help out the men and expect them to protect her. Supports are very weak when alone, so they tend to always have to group up with those who can save them. Sona's character design and playstyle clearly match the stereotype of a weak woman who needs to be constantly saved and protected by the strong, dominant males. Looking at her gameplay, all of her abilities are AoE, or Area of Effect. They are primarily 3 auras that help out the team as a whole, with the benefits of being most effective when they are used in a group rather than alone. Her kit, or the types of spells and how they work, even further cements how Sona is a weak female stereotype who needs to be with others in order to use her full potential, which even then is less than many other champions. Sona may be a fun champion to play, but her overall style and playstyle fits the feel of a helpless female almost too well, but she does not represent the entire support class. The other champion that deserves a careful analysis is Braum, the heart of the Freyjord. Looking at his design, he is a tall, muscular, mustached man who lives in one of the most harsh and cold areas in the world, the equivalent of, let's say, Russia. Clearly a fit of a bulky carry who deals a lot of damage, right? Well, many people would be surprised to find out that Braum falls under the second category of supports, the tank supports. Braum excels in game protecting his team while also being at the front line of the attention, unlike a backline support like Sona. Braum's role may not fit his overall appearance, but it definitely fits his personality. Braum is a protector. In fact, in his lore, he supposedly held up the entire top half of a mountain alone just to save a young troll boy, although his lore is told as a myth, so it could just be a wild claim. You can also see his personality from his splash art, where he's standing above you with his arm outstretched in order to pull you up, to help you. Even though his appearance doesn't exactly match his, place in the game, it does clearly, reinforce his hyper-masculine appearance with all the wild claims, him holding up an entire top of a mountain. He is a superhuman man, a manly man, that makes men who play this game feel strong or empowered while playing him, while still keeping him away from another stereotypical champion, such as Trinamir Garen, who I will show later. He focuses less on the crazy, wild, offensive side of the male stereotype and instead is used to display the side of a man that we expect to be a protector, to work, to make the money to keep his home and family, and to think of others just as much of himself, similar to how a woman is supposed to do to the man of the house. In this way, both of these supports that seem to contrast one another a lot are both clear examples of sticking to a gender role in alliance with the in-game roles. Of course, Braum deviates quite a bit more from that, just because of his overall design. It's not something you'd originally expect. The other role in League of Legends that has a much larger unbalance of gender is in the top lane. Certain roles go into certain lanes. This evolved out of the Season 2 championships, but it's not very important beyond the terminology. Top lane champions are usually bulky fighting champions that bully one another for dominance and try to keep constant presence on the map in order to force the enemy team to either focus them or lose valuable objectives. The gender split in the top lane is far greater than the support role, as the top 3 tiers of support champions include 9 female and 6 male, while the top lane top 3 tiers include 5 female with 19 male champions. Most other lanes have a decently even split, but top lanes is massive. The entire idea of a male stereotype is embodied in the role itself. Champions like Garen, Darius, Tryndamere, or Renekton, all very strong, threatening males, with Renekton being a male crocodile. However, what about female champions? Well, top lane, you can find the Rosie the Riveter style of females, the butch females who can do just as well as men. Champions such as Alawi, the Kraken Priestess. Her splash art itself and nothing else already tells a lot of this champion. The angle is from below, as in she is standing above you, but unlike Braum, with a very dominating stance, one hand clenched, looking down at you with eyes that could be filled with challenge. Her gameplay matches this very closely. She is made to constantly harass her opponents with a unique ability that, in short, gives the enemy a choice. Either walk away and take free damage, or they can try to challenge Alawi up front, which usually does not work out so well for them. A female champion that openly challenges males, a very large deviation from the norm, until you look at society nowadays. Recently, the gender stereotype for women and men have been slowly shifting to be more malleable and inclusive of different spectrums of masculinity and femininity. The reason why this is important is by looking at the release dates of these champions, or in other words, when they're made playable to the majority of players. Sona, the complete embodiment of the stereotypical female, was released way back in September of 2010. Braum, released in May of 2014, is much more of a deviation than Sona, as even though Braum is not a complete breaking of the gender stereotypical structure, he is still definitely a breath of fresh air on a strong male character. Alawi, a champion that seems to shatter the female stereotype, was released in November of last year. It must be noted that these champions aren't simply cherry-picked. Female champions such as Lux, Ahri, and Evelynn, champions that fit the stereotype and were released in the early days of League, clearly fit this as well, usually being skinny with a decently large or semi-exposed breast. However, recently we've seen champions such as Kalista, Rek'Sai, and yes, that purple monster is a female, and Talia. These show the evolution of champion design flows with the evolution of the gender binaries in society. As they shape, games such as League shape with them, becoming more inclusive and thus inviting more acceptance for these designs. The massive player base for League of Legends makes it an important source to look at, how they support the changes in society as they affect a large amount of people. The change in the designs are great, and hopefully they continue to support the increase of acceptance for varying gender roles in our society. Cue that Armor the 5th Age TARIC. And sources, which there's only one, because all these are just pictures. Back to TARIC.